Youth Edition webinar. Tonight's webinar is focused on the importance of youth advocacy. My name is Lisa Facciolla and I'll be your host tonight. Some of you may know me and some of you may not, but welcome. I'm very happy to have you all here. We'll go ahead and get started. So tonight's webinar is all about advocacy. And for those of you who are new to the term, I'm going to go over a little bit of what advocacy is. And advocacy really means to identify and call for change. These changes can occur in laws, policies, practices, and structures, but the overall goal is to improve people's lives. And in your case, it might be to improve your life. Carly is one of the HAEA youth advocates. And this is just a little quote that she wrote about advocacy. My name is Carly, and advocacy means a lot to me. It shows me that in a big world where HAE is a small thing, my voice is still loud enough to be heard and pursue a change within the HAE community. So there's a couple different forms of advocacy. And remember, advocacy is about calling for change and guiding decision makers towards solutions. But this change can take place on a couple different levels. Change can occur on a community level. This means at a local level with your local government, first responders, your school system, hospitals. This means that you may go to your local fire department to talk to them about HAE so that they're prepared in the event they ever have to respond to a call about someone with HAE. This means that you may go to your local government officials to ask them for your help in advocating on a particular issue that they may have influence in. This means that you may go to your school to ask them to support you if you may need exceptions in your curriculum. So that's the community-based advocacy that can take place at a local level. There's also national policy. And this type of advocacy takes place at a national level with your national government officials like your House and Representatives and your Senate members, policymakers in Washington, D.C. But before you begin to advocate, you need to have a vision. You need to know what you want. You need to know what you would like to see change. And I have a vision that I would like to share with you. And I have a goal that I would like to share with you as well. So we imagine a world where every HAE patient has access to advanced treatment options, which allows them to live life to the fullest. Most of us in the United States understand the value and how important these treatment options are, and we need to fight to protect them. I aim, and the HAEA aims, to empower young people to have a voice and to advocate for themselves and their communities, and to raise awareness about HAE. Now, as we begin to think about our vision and our aim, we need to really think about what that change is that we want to see in the HAE community. And so I ask you to begin to think to yourself, what is that change that you want to see? Is it at a national level, or is it at a local level, or is it at both levels? Would you like more freedom in medication choices? Would you like new treatment options? Would you like unrestricted access to charitable financial support for medical expenses? Would you like to see more advances in research? Maybe more treatment options for kids? And what else? That is the question that I pose to you. What is the change that you want to see in the HAE community? What is the change that would make life easier for you? But there's one thing that I want you to always remember. You have the power to make an impact. I think it's common that a lot of younger people feel like they have less of a voice. And I really want to encourage you to abandon that thought and to realize that you do have power to make an impact. Your voice matters. What you say matters. But you need some skills to really make an impact. Some of those skills include a passion and a dedication to your issue. And as someone who's affected by HAE, I believe that you probably have a strong passion and a strong dedication to making sure that you're able to live the best quality of life that you can. You need to have a clear vision of what change needs to happen. So that means that you really need to educate yourself on the issues at hand or the issue that you see needs to be changed. You need to be able to collaborate with others. You need to also prepare to dedicate the time and a commitment to understanding the issues and following up with the people who you've talked to about them. You also need to have semi-decent communication skills. And so as we begin to think what it takes to be a successful advocate, those are 5 important things that I'd like you to take into consideration. But I believe that everyone has these things inside of them. Now, you may go to an advocacy meeting. This advocacy meeting may be your school official. It may be your doctor because you're advocating for yourself. It may be with a local emergency room department because you want to make sure that they're able to care for you to the best of their abilities when you go in to see them. That meeting may occur with government officials if you participate in an event like Capitol Hill Day and letter writing campaigns. And I believe that there's 3 very important things that makes an advocacy meeting successful. The first thing is that you know the issue you are there for. Why did you call the meeting? It's important that you share your story. Your story is powerful. And when you share your story, you captivate your audience with your experiences and you make them want to help you. And it's important that in this meeting, you tell people what they can do to help. Most of the time, people want to help you. You just need to tell them what they can do. You can also join forces with a team of committed people who are dedicated to your issue. And when it comes to HAE, the HAEA is going to be that team of committed people. We are incredibly committed to advancing advocacy for the HAE community, whether that means access to research, improved access to charitable assistance, working with insurance companies. We are dedicated to constantly fighting for you on these issues. And we invite you to join us on Capitol Hill or in our letter writing campaigns. Now, I'd like to introduce you to one of the HAEA's young legislative advocates. This is Gabriel. Gabriel is from West Virginia and has participated in a number of our legislative activities and a number of HAEA advocacy activities. Gabriel is going to share a little bit about his story, and then we're going to welcome Jasmine, and she's going to share a little bit about her story as well. So let's go ahead and spotlight their videos. Oops. All right, Gabe?
Yep.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. I just like to start off to say like how important advocacy is, especially for like this day and age, and like with everything that's happening right now, we can't like let people forget that like the HAE community still matters, especially because like we are like some of us can be like immune compromised, and this is already like a very big medical condition. And so advocacy is just important on all levels. So not only to protect you, but to protect anybody with HAE and just help the community all around. I think one of the big problems with youth advocacy, even though it's really important, is just getting started. Because once you really get started advocating, it's hard to stop, honestly. I think it's about just taking that extra step, getting the nerves off, and starting, because when you advocate being young, it shows that not only are there like adults, there's also young people who care about you know, the HAE and everything that comes with it. And as odd as it might, I guess, may seem, is Capitol Hill is a good place to start, because it's you know, you're on a group, you know, you have people who are experienced in advocating, and they can show you what to do. You're speaking to senators and House representatives, so you're just all around, you're making a difference, even if you're just there, just to learn. So, I mean, I guess advocating is just important all around, honestly. And it's difficult with, I guess, like I said earlier, younger people because of the nerves, but it's all about getting started. Really, once you get started, it's the possibilities are endless, because there's so much going on, and we really need to advocate. Advocating is really important in a time like this. Just don't let people forget who we are, what you stand for. And it's the events that the HAEA like promotes and is in that like really helps the HAE community, because it's like they're always there, you know, like you can text like pretty much like a lot of them, especially Lisa, and like, you know, they're just a shoulder to lean on, or anybody, and just ask questions about HAE. And it's them who are really taking the step forward to begin advocacy for HAE as a whole, because it's important. Advocacy is very important for something like HAE, which is, you know, very rare disease, even though it's, you know, it's genetics. So I guess that's what it is. And it's all these different events that get people out there. It's like, I was diagnosed at 8. I'd only, you know, been searching for a couple of months, and I learned about the HAEA, and we went to Cincinnati. Great time. It really got me connected to community, and it got me aware of how important advocacy is for somebody of like my age or younger. And then next, I went to Georgia, Atlanta, for their international conference. There we did workshops. We learned how to advocate. It's not only a way to advocate, it's a way to communicate with the community. It's a way to connect. It's a way to learn. It's just an all-around positive experience. And then we went to Capitol Hill, which was an amazing experience, connecting with, you know, more HAE patients, meeting the senators and the House representatives, and just learning how to advocate on a national scale, like in difference between an ER, school, wherever. And then we're supposed to do Cincinnati this year, but it was canceled, which is, I guess, fine for growing concerns. But that's honestly just why advocacy is important. It's important all around for in all ages, especially for youth, because it makes more of a difference as a youth when you're giving your story, when you're saying your story, and you're giving all of those reasons, then to show that you matter, and that everyone else that has HAE matters, and that just everyone else just matters.
Gabe, I know that you have advocated quite a bit to your doctor and at your school. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, it was really, I guess, odd to move, because I used to live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but we just moved to West Virginia this year. We were all kind of worried about our doctor, because, you know, West Virginia is, I guess, a bit more of a smaller state, but I've got Dr. Peppers here. He's amazing. It's really on like a good scale on how when you find good doctors. And like with my school, it's on like a need to know basis, like, you know, like the nurses know, everybody pretty much knows that I have it, just in case anything would ever happen, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. I haven't had an attack in a couple of months, but 3 weeks ago I woke up and my bottom lip was swollen. Yeah. So
I know that you scheduled an appointment with your school to talk to them about HAE. Is that right?
Yes. Well, that happened in Virginia Beach. We haven't gotten the chance to do that just yet this year, because, you know, all that's happened, and we've with the big move and just everything, like we've had just a lot of stuff that's happened.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing Gabe, you have been involved in a number of HAE advocacy events, and you are always ready and raring to go, and you have a voice and you aren't afraid to use it. So thank you so much for sharing. I did want to clarify on one thing that you said, though, because you started off with a note about HAE being, a lot of people are immunocompromised, but I do just want to clarify that HAE is a genetic disorder, and HAE itself is not an is not a condition that would be considered immunocompromised. So I just wanted to clarify that, just so that we make sure that we're giving all the right information here.
Yeah.
But thank you, Gabe. That was a fabulous presentation. I know that Jasmine has a little bit that she wants to share about her experience as well. So Jasmine, let's see if we can get her video up here.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Aldalco. And the very first time I advocated for HAE was when I went to Capitol Hill in Washington. At first, I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of scared of what I was going into. I thought, this is way too professional for me. I don't know what to say. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But Lisa was there. She put me on the right track. She gave me a lot of guidance to what to expect and stuff. Going into the office representatives, I'm going to admit I was pretty quiet the first time. I was very good. And then, I got up there and I was like Hereditary Angioedema is a very rare disease. So I think it's very important to advocate for it, like you said, because it's going to affect us in the long run. It's best that everyone knows, and to the extent it could possibly help us getting the word known around HAE and letting people know about HAE and how it affects us. And the reason we went into Capitol Hill was to let the representatives know, because we were facing issues with the healthcare, and it was affecting people differently, and they don't know what we experience on a daily basis. They don't know what we go through on a daily basis, and it's our job to put in their face and in their eyes exactly what we go through and what needs to be done to prevent issues from happening and affecting us more, because we already have enough to deal with the illness as it is. So when I went to Capitol Hill, it kind of gave me more confidence to advocate, because I'm going to be honest, I was shy. Not shy, but I didn't want to talk about it. I felt, you know what, it's my business. No one else needs to know, because I felt as if I was going to be judged, and I didn't want to feel that way. But then I think as I grew older from my diagnosis, I was like, okay, this is important. And Capitol Hill gave me kind of like a bigger eye opening, like how important it is, and listening to some of my friends, their stories of what they were going through and exactly why they were there in Capitol Hill, and the stories that they gave to their representatives. So when I went to Capitol Hill, I talked to a few people, and then later on, my congresswoman, Xochitl Torres, she was in my town. And then I was like, my mom actually found it out on Facebook. And then I was like, I don't know, should I go to this? Like, it was like a meet and greet. And so I was like, I don't know. I was shy, came again. I was like, And then finally I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to go to this. So I went, and then my mom, they had this thing like these cards where you have to put a question down or something that you're experiencing and like how they can help. So my mom got me a card, and so I was like, I was writing, and then I remember writing so fast because she was about to end, and I was like, oh no, I barely got the courage to do this. I'm not going to let it go down right now. So then I hurried up and wrote, and it was like all scribbles and stuff. But she answered. I asked her, and I told her that, you know, I'm a person with a rare genetic disorder, and I told her some of the issues we were facing and what she could contribute to help with that. So
what was her response?
She said, I'm trying to remember exactly, but I remember that she said, I remember words that she was going to try everything in her power to help as best as she can. I remember that part. And I remember talking to her personally after she was done, and I remember staying there for about 20 minutes speaking with her. And right away, she told her assistant to get my email, and me and her have exchanged emails back and forth and saying, you know, what we really want done. And since then, I haven't spoken with her. But I'm starting to advocate a little more than usual. I advocated at school to my counselors and my teachers. So all my teachers know that I have hereditary angioedema, and they're always willing to help me. So I think it is very important to let others know, because in the long run, it's going to affect you no matter what. And it's important to have those people have your back, because they can protect you, or they can potentially save your life if they know. And that's what I've been doing, because I'm going to thank my mom for that, because before, you know, I didn't want anybody to know. And I want to thank the HAEA Youth Organization for helping me get out of my shell and meeting other people with this and pushing me more out there for that. So that's all I got to say.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Jasmine. I think it's really awesome how you talk about actually going to DC, visiting your representative's office, right? And then going home and taking action to meet with her in your hometown. So I think that it's actually really interesting when people realize that these elected officials work for us. And oftentimes they come to our hometowns and they have offices in our hometowns. We can actually schedule meetings with them and go and sit down with them and talk to them about things that are going on in the HAE community. And it's a really powerful feeling. I know that I've done that myself with my representative locally, and we walked right into his office, sat down, met with him, talked to him. He was very interested. And I think it's actually really, like you said, empowering when you hear that these elected officials have an interest in listening to you. So thank you for sharing your story.
No problem.
All right, let me share my screen here. All right. Well, thank you, Gabe, and thank you, Jasmine, for sharing your stories. It's really important, I think, to hear from your peers about their experiences in advocating for HAE. And I want to be clear that advocating for HAE isn't just about going to Capitol Hill, but it is a huge initiative that the HAEA has. And every year, the issues that we go to Capitol Hill for, and Capitol Hill, if you're not familiar with it, is actually Washington, D.C. It is the office buildings where our elected officials stay in Washington, D.C. to vote on important issues and policies and meet with their committees. And every year the HAEA goes and we talk to them about issues that are critical to the HAE community at that time. So I wanted to share with you some issues that we are currently addressing in the HAE community that are current and update and relevant as of now. And the first one is United for Charitable Assistance. Essentially, this is a coalition, a group of people with rare diseases or who are affected by rare diseases, who have very expensive medical bills because of their conditions. And the United for Charitable Assistance Coalition works to ensure that insurance companies are able to accept money that you receive from charities to help pay for your healthcare costs. So you may have heard of programs like PSI or the Assistance Fund, and these organizations serve as charitable financial support for people with rare diseases who have high healthcare costs. They provide support with copay assistance, insurance premiums, and these are very complex issues for young people to address, but it's important to be aware that these are things that will affect you. And if we don't fight for them now, they will affect you when you get older. So it's important to be aware that these are vital for our community, these issues. There's also an act that we're working on that a number of organizations are working on with their representatives, and it's called the Safe Step Act. Essentially, this act ensures that insurance companies don't decide what medication you should take. Oftentimes, insurance companies will require a patient to try and fail on a medication before they will approve a drug that their physician writes. This is a pretty common practice that insurance companies try to use to reduce costs, but we believe that it's important that the decisions about your medication take place between you and your physician. And this is what the Safe Step Act is working towards. It's working to ensure that insurance companies, again, don't decide what medication you should take, that decision is left between you and your physician. And the next advocacy issue that I'm going to talk about is in relation to the National Institute of Health funding for rare disease research grants. Now, one of the important things in advancing HAE research is access to funds. And researchers like the physicians at the U.S. Hereditary Angioedema Center rely on applying, and other centers around the world and around the United States, particularly when it comes to the National Institute of Health, that would be for national research institutions within the United States. They rely on funding to advance their research initiatives. And oftentimes they apply for these funding grants through the National Institute of Health, AKA the NIH, which will grant them money to research these very rare conditions. So every year when we go to Capitol Hill, we ask our representatives to increase funding for rare disease research to make sure that physicians and researchers have access to as much money as they need to advance their research on HAE. So I just wanted to share 3 very important issues that the HAEA is currently fighting for. I also want you to know that you have the power to make a difference here. And there's 3 things that you can do to get involved. You can learn about the issues and how they apply to you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute and how you can become more acquainted and familiar with these issues. You can practice your skills to become a more effective advocate. That means going to your doctor's office and talking to them about HAE and some of these issues. That means going to your school and talking to them about HAE, feeling comfortable, being assertive and proactive about making sure that people understand your needs as an HAE patient and someone dealing with the circumstances around that. And then you can participate in advocacy campaigns. The HAEA leads a slew of fabulous advocacy events. And we also do annual letter writing campaigns to our senators and to politicians. So we invite you guys to participate in that. Now, I'd like to invite you all to join us for an interactive Zoom workshop next week. We will send a poll out, an email out after this webinar. It'll be sent out tomorrow morning, inviting you to participate in a survey to answer if you're interested in actually practicing with your peers. We have set up a really wonderful workshop, and we invite you guys to come and join. Remember, let's go back. Part of becoming a successful advocate is to practice. So we invite you to practice with us next week in an advocacy training virtual Zoom workshop. So if this is something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that survey from us tomorrow, and click yes and fill out your information, and we will send you a link to the webinar. Now, we also have set up a really special program for you where you can become certified. This is the HAEA Legislative Advocacy Training. Now, each of you today should have received an HAEA Youth newsletter. And at the bottom of that newsletter, you will see some information about the first activity in our Legislative Advocacy Training Program. This first activity is going to guide you through the steps to effectively tell your HAE story. We invite you to, over the next 6 weeks, join us to participate in these 6 activities to become a better advocate and learn about the issues facing the HAE community. Each activity is going to be presented to you in a different form. So in the very first activity, it's a PowerPoint, but we'll be mixing it up and sharing some videos with you, guiding you through the lessons. Some of your peers will be hosting the videos. We'll have some of the HAEA staff hosting the videos, but it's going to be an awesome experience, and I invite all of you to participate in this. And after you complete all 6 of the activities, we will send you a certificate of completion. You can share the certificate with your school to let them know that this is something that you participated in, and it's possible that they may give you credit for it if they're willing to. But this is just a really great opportunity for you to really embrace the concept of advocacy, the issues facing the HAE community, and really craft an effective pitch so that when you're faced with someone who you need to advocate to on your own behalf, that you're prepared. So I invite you all to participate in that. We will be sending out weekly emails with a new activity, and each activity will take you to a form. And with that form, you can submit your answers to those activities. And once you have submitted all the answers, we'll send you the certificate. But each activity will build on the other. So the first activity will guide you through effectively telling your HAE story. The next one will guide you through the process of getting to know your local representatives and how to find that information about them. The third activity will teach you about current issues facing the HAE community and ask you to do a little research on them. Those will be those 3 topics that we just talked about. The fourth activity will help you understand how those issues that can initially seem a bit complex, how they affect you and your life. The fifth activity will ask you to select one of those 3 issues as something that you want to focus in on. And the 6th activity will help you prepare for a visit with your representative by crafting an elevator pitch. And an elevator pitch is really a very brief 2-minute speech that you would give to someone to help them understand who you are, what you need, and what they can do for you. So if you have any questions, I invite you to begin to submit your questions. And as always, you can connect with me at any time. Follow us on Instagram, and I'll just give a shout out. We do have a TikTok account now. So if you're on TikTok, find us, and it's the same handle as our Instagram page, and it's at HAEA Youth. If you're not following us on Instagram, I invite you to do so. We make daily posts. We are doing Insta Live sessions and promoting a lot of our virtual events because we know that you are spending a lot of time at home these days. So let me come up here and see if there's been any questions submitted. Let's see. So feel free if at any time you have any questions. Oh, I see that there's one here. Hold on. So it's not allowing me to pull it up. Can our administrator copy the question and post it in the chat? All right, so one of the questions is, how old do I have to be to participate? So technically, there is no age limit in becoming an advocate. For some of our advocacy events, we have different age targets for each of the events, just to make sure that you're fully prepared for the experience. So for our Capitol Hill Day event, we really target that event to people between ages 12 and up. Now, we do have other advocacy events that we hold throughout the year. One of them is our Cincinnati Reds Parade, and we invite youngsters as young as 8 years old to participate in that, and we really just guide you through the process. We do hold other advocacy events throughout the year, and if you are interested in learning more about events, HAEA events coming to you, we post those events in our newsletter. However, right now, due to the situation with COVID-19, we have canceled most of our events for the first half of 2020. So we will be posting more information about how to get involved. However, we do have a legislative letter writing campaign. And if that's something that you would like to participate in, there is absolutely no age limit to participate in that. We definitely invite you, kids and parents, to join in for this. And really the goal of the letter writing campaign is to remind our representatives of the issues that are currently facing our community when we can't go visit them in person. So if that's something that you're interested in, I will include that in our poll that we send out tomorrow, if that's something that you would like to volunteer to sign up for. And you can go ahead and complete that poll and click yes, so that we can send you more information about our letter writing campaign, so that when we do have pending issues and a letter writing campaign, you can participate. Any other questions? Let's see. So someone wrote, I know a lot of young HAE patients have trouble with their academics due to the stress and lack of ability to perform as a regular student. And I totally get that. What are some ways that we can advocate to our schools in our towns? This is an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking it, Gabriella. The first thing that I would suggest is to schedule a meeting with your teachers and with your counselor, and with any school administrators that help you as a student. That may be a counselor, that may be a vice principal, that may be a principal. And I would bring a letter from your physician confirming your diagnosis. And there are a couple different things that schools can do that you can request as a student to advocate for yourself. One of those things is a 504 plan. And so you would need to research whether a 504 plan is something that you would want to pursue, but essentially, really what a 504 plan does is it makes sure that your school can accommodate your needs as someone with a disability. And you may not think of HAE as a disability, but in reality, it is an invisible disability. People who see us every day may not realize that we have something going on because it's often not visible to them. But indeed it is, and it's something that you should take into consideration when you're going to school. If HAE starts to disrupt your academics, then you may need accommodation from your school. So we would go back to that meeting and remember what makes an effective meeting. An effective meeting requires you to know what you're there for. Are you there to just tell them about HAE and see what they can do? Or are you there to tell them that you would like to sign up for a 504 plan? And if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely be open to provide you with more information about that, and you can always research it. But then you also want to share your story. You want to tell them how HAE is affecting you and your academics, and that this is of concern to you. And then you need to know what you want to ask them for. So are you asking them to make sure that you have makeup work when you aren't able to miss school? Are you asking them to accommodate your absences? Are you asking them to provide you with more time on tests because the stress often brings on an HAE attack. You need to know what accommodations you're looking for, what is reasonable to ask. And that's one thing that you can do at your school. Another important thing that you would want to do at school is to talk to the school nurse. So you definitely want to bring a letter from your physician outlining your treatment plan. What do you do to treat your HAE attacks? And you'd want her to be familiar, her or him, to be familiar with your treatment plan, to make sure that if you ever have to go to the nurse with an HAE attack, that they know what's going on. They have a document showing that your symptoms are real and diagnosed, and that you have a treatment plan. And you would need to know what you're going to ask of the nurse. Do you just want her to know to call your parent if you go in for an attack? Do you want her to know, do you want to request that you have a dose of medication available at the, in the refrigerator if you need it? Know what you want to ask when you go in for your meeting, but scheduling a meeting before you get an attack or before someone sees you sick is really important, because you want to get ahead of the issue before you're in a crisis. So I hope that helps. And Gabriella, feel free to reach out to me anytime if you want some help navigating your school environment. I'd be very happy to help you. Any other questions come in? I know we're running very close on time, so I just want to thank Jasmine and Gabe for sharing their stories. They're two fabulous advocates, along with a number of other wonderful young people in our community. We have been so excited to see the interest in Capitol Hill Day just explode in our youth community. And that means that young people are realizing that they have a voice and that their voice matters. So I encourage all of you to realize that. If you have any questions about how you can get involved, or if you have any questions about what I covered in tonight's webinar, please feel free to email me at lisa@haea.org. Thank you all so much for joining. Again, I am here if you guys need anything at all, and I invite you to reach out anytime. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.